the burden is on the President of the Philippines during his visit to China. The first visit of Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to China in a new position from January 3 to 5, in the context of the infrastructure crisis in the Philippines, has reached an urgent level. Over the weekend, power outages caused chaos for 361 flights and 65,000 passengers at Manila's Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The incident that made headlines around the world shows the state of public infrastructure crisis facing the Philippines, which China has the advantage to overcome through its Belt and Road Initiative and loan programs. Is different. The sudden power outage caused chaotic queues at check-in counters across the Philippines, as thousands sought to rebook flights to escape days of congestion at one of the delayed airports. Most stagnant in the world. The airport mess highlights a more serious energy crisis in the Philippines. Last year, power cuts across the country coincided with an increase in electricity prices, prompting leading business groups to warn of the risk of severe economic disruption due to expensive and unreliable power supplies. The Philippine Energy Minister acknowledged the situation this year will be more difficult. Meanwhile, the country's largest source of natural gas at the Malampaya field is expected to run out by the end of next year. Faced with high public debt and inflation, President Marcos Jr. are in dire need of capital and new investments from abroad to be able to implement the economic program. Mr. Marcos Jr. inherited headaches from the previous administration. In 2017, the Asian Development Bank, ADB, estimated that the region needed $459 billion in annual infrastructure capital. In the Philippines, the annual shortfall amounts to $11 billion. That gap is most evident in NAIA, formerly known as Manila International Airport, which began operations 75 years ago. Located near the heart of metropolitan Manila, NAIA still struggles with stifling traffic and poor connectivity. Last year, NAIA was ranked among the top 3 most stressed airports in Asia, and was included in the list of the world's worst airports for business travelers. China, a major shareholder of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, NGCP, can play a pivotal role in solving the Philippines' bottleneck and energy crisis. During the first 6 months of his term, President Marcos Jr. called China the Philippines' strongest partner and reliable source of infrastructure development capital. The President of the Philippines wants to keep spending 5 to 6% of GDP on infrastructure development. However, the Philippines is facing a 16-year record high in debt and only a few of the Duterte administration's major infrastructure projects have been completed. In that context, Mr. Marcos Jr. visited Beijing with the hope that China would pour more capital to develop the Philippines' electricity industry and infrastructure connectivity. After taking office, President Marcos Jr. made headlines with the cancellation of 3 major Chinese projects due to lack of capital. During this visit, the Philippine leader will likely urge Beijing to make investment commitments more clear and tangible. The two sides are also expected to re-evaluate previous plans for cooperation in oil and gas exploration in the disputed area of the East Sea, when the Malampaya project is about to expire. However, it is not clear that Marcos Jr. willing to make concessions to China, while Manila is warming up and expanding military cooperation with Washington.